to fight for. Prepare for battle.
What is the difference between the way you do your infusions and the way most doctors do their infusions?
The bottom line would be there's really not much difference in that we're all giving ketamine and we're all giving any adjuvant medications that are needed to get the patient through the ketamine experience.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest difference with the way that I typically do it, and I'm not saying I do this on 100% of the pain patients, but one of the issues that we identified probably 15 years ago was there's not a lot of pain patients that have the financial wherewithal to spend 10 days getting infusions at a cost of somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000.
Right.
That's just ridiculous.
Right.
And one of the colleagues of mine who was a very brilliant neurologist, we started to theorize, well, maybe if we give a higher dose, we can block the receptors, but the blockade might last longer because there's a limit to how much, they talk about a drug's half-life.
Mm-hmm.
That's how long it takes your body to literally eliminate half of what it has in it from your bloodstream.
Okay.
And typically we say it takes about 5 half-lives for anything to be completely eliminated from the bloodstream.
Okay.
But there is a point, there's a limit point, because all this happens with enzymatic reactions in the liver and excretion by the kidney. There is a limit to how much your body can eliminate in a particular period of time. And if there's more of it there than your body can handle, then the half-life theory has to be somewhat altered. So we theorized that if we gave really high doses safely under proper conditions, patients would essentially have, for all intents and purposes, an ongoing infusion for at least 24 hours, even though the infusion stops after 4 hours.
Oh, okay.
So we started giving patients increased doses, higher and higher doses, and we were finding we were having remarkable results as far as relief of the pain. Now, take that with a grain of salt, though, because you also have to remember if you have a lot of ketamine on board, it has analgesic properties.
Right.
So you get an immediate relief of some or all of the pain just because of the ketamine being there.
Right.
But our goal was to keep enough ketamine circulating in the body to continue the NMDA blockade and thereby cause downregulation. And we started discovering that we were having a lot of luck with patients who could really only afford 1 day of our treatment, giving them really high doses. And yeah, they felt the effects of it for a day or more afterwards, but then they'd call us and tell us, I'm completely wide awake now. I mean, I have no issues, no ketamine left that I can feel in my body, and I'm not having any pain.
Wow.
So we were having very good results with that, even with people that had, I had one patient, she'd had a 22-year history of RSD, 24/7. 22 years. She had surgical sympathectomies done, didn't do anything because even though it's recruiting the sympathetic nervous system, it's very much a brain phenomenon. I gave her one high-dose infusion. She had complete relief for 14 months.
Wow.
Now, that's not everybody, but we
Right.
have a lot of cases like that I can give general descriptions of people that get a year or more at a time of relief from one infusion.
Right.
Dose that I give in those high dose infusions, on average, I would say it's about 1,000 milligrams.
Okay.
And the lower dose people are giving 1 to 200 milligrams a day. So we give 1,000 milligrams, and I've given the patient that you had on of mine who said my name out loud so I can I can say who she, Andrea.
Right.
The highest I ever gave her was I gave her 2,000 milligrams in 1 4-hour infusion.
Wow.
And we learned from her that some patients need really high doses to get the kind of relief that they want, because when we tried to give her less than 1,000 in an infusion, it just didn't get her where she always wanted to be.
Right.
She tolerated the infusions, so we gave her the higher doses.
Wow.
So the only real difference, the biggest difference in the way that I do it compared to others, is that I'm willing to give very high doses in the hopes that a single infusion might get someone to the point they want to get to in their pain relief without having to do 5 or 10 days worth of it.
Right.
Said that we still offer 3-day, 5-day, And I don't decrease the dose necessarily. But if somebody signs up for 5 days, I might start with only 500 milligrams the first day, or maybe 750. See how it goes. By the same token, if they sign up for 5 days and if I give them, say, 750 the first day and they come back on Tuesday and say, geez, I feel so much better, we give them another 750. If they say, you know, I'm completely out of pain, I don't have to do any more of this, we don't make them stay the other 3 days. We don't ever make anybody sign up for, pay in advance for, do anything that they don't want to do.
Right.
Also, some patients have signed up for 5 days, and after the first day, they called us back on the second day and they said, screw it, this is not for me. I cannot tolerate how I feel. Okay.
Yeah. See, that's, I really like the idea of yours, because for me, I'm a drive away from Stanford, but it's still a good drive. And to go for 5 days, it would just be very hard because my wife is my ride there and back, and it just doing that, or the outpatient going there every day for 4 or 5 days also would be really difficult for me. So if I could knock it out in 1 day, that would be ideal. So
and that's how a lot of the patients feel. Plus, don't forget, it's a lot cheaper if you can do it in 1 day.
right.
I always want to sound mercenary about it, but it is really expensive, and insurance really doesn't cover things. Like, I do not deal with insurance at all whatsoever. I'm cash only.
Okay.
Stanford, I know, their program, they had a patient a couple of years ago that they called me. He lived on the Monterey Peninsula, which is where I am, and he was wondering whether I could treat him instead of Stanford. So Stanford contacted me and said, would you be willing to treat this patient? I said, sure. But the problem is, Stanford said, but we want you to absolutely follow our protocol 100%. Well, their protocol is the low dose for 10 days. So I said, I can do that. But I just felt guilty that it would cost this guy so much money. And by the way, I'm not trying to badmouth Stanford's protocol.
No.
They are following the Schwartzman protocol, which is a very proven, very successful protocol. I guess my niche is that I try to get people relief who can't afford to do 10 days, whether it's from time constraints, geographical constraints like you have, financial constraints. There's always a way to find, the same result, but make it easier for other people to do it. And there's a lot of people who don't get relief after just 1 day.
You'll have to fight